The power of the internet. Well, I got a funny, interesting story for me to tell you guys today. A little bit about my experience on the internet and some of the fascinating changes that has occurred, as I've noticed something really fascinating about the internet, and it's my experience. So back in 2011, I was a bored high school kid just making random Yu-Gi-Oh videos of me playing Yu-Gi-Oh Pro and Dueling Network. And over time, I noticed that, I wanted to try other things on my channel. I did a little bit of Pokemon videos, funny enough. And then I bumped into randomly doing a video about Future Gohan. Why wasn't Future Gohan stronger? And I started making these Dragon Ball videos, and over time, long story short, Black and Fist randomly commented on my video. And I was like, who's this Black and Fist guy? And keep in mind, guys, like back then when you only have like 100 or 200 subs, like every comment sticks out like a sore thumb. And so I noticed he kept commenting on a lot of the few videos I had, because I only had like 3 or 4 Dragon Ball discussions, and he was very supportive of my content. So I was like, all right, well, let me talk to this Black and Fist guy. And then, we became friends, started making some videos here and there. And then I also noticed that Jax Blade, he had a pretty big channel at the time, and he started commenting on my videos too. And, that's when I noticed that, my channel started getting more views, because Jax was actually sharing my channel on his Tumblr page, and I'm really grateful for him doing that. And funny enough, it kind of puzzled me today as I'm making this video that Black and Fist and Jax Blade are 2 of my closest friends in life. And I've met Black and Fist once in person. I've never met Jax Blade's black ass one time in life. Like, I've never seen the guy. And yet I talk to this guy on the phone almost every day. We talk about Dragon Ball, we talk about women, we talk about everything. Video games, Cartoon Network, Adult Swim. Like, he's one of my closest friends. He's actually my personal gym trainer. And he was just a random person who commented on one of my videos, and it kind of made me think back to life and kind of separate 2 things I've noticed. I feel like in life there's certain people that you're bound to meet, and there's certain people that come into your life randomly, and I think the internet has given us such an ability to do that. For example, Bob the Builder and I have been friends ever since we were 4 years old, right? And Bob is one of my closest friends too, just like these people. And Bob and I went to the same kindergarten, and we also went to the same elementary school. So because of the decisions of our parents to choose to put us in a Montessori program and to go to the same school, we kind of were going to be friends anyways. Like, our paths were kind of aligned to meet each other, because our parents grew up in the same area. Like, that's a person that I was naturally supposed to meet in my life. We became close friends of our own will, but I was supposed to meet Bob in my life. But it kind of made me wonder, and you go throughout middle school and high school, there's certain people that you just meet that are just the cycle of life. You go to school, you go to work, you go to college, you go to the same bar or the same gym every single week, and you keep seeing the same people over and over and over and over and over and over again. You're bound to make friends with some of them. Even if you're as introverted as me, you're supposed to make friends with some of them. But the internet is fascinating how you can become friends with people that just randomly had small interactions with you. And one more interesting story that's so random would have to be my friend B. I'm going to keep his name anonymous, but my friend B and I have a very interesting friendship, because we were in a fantasy football and fantasy basketball league online, right? And his name on the fantasy basketball name for his team was Beerusama. So obviously I'm like, wait a minute, Beerusama, this guy has to be a fan of Dragon Ball. So I messaged the guy who was in the fantasy basketball group, and I started talking to him. I'm like, hey bro, I could tell you're a fan of Dragon Ball. And turns out this guy actually already knew about my YouTube channel before I even messaged him. So it was just kind of crazy to me how, like, he already knew who I was on YouTube by being a random guy in a fantasy football basketball group. Like, that's insane! And, you know, he said he was gonna approach me at some point and ask me about it, but he wasn't 100% sure. And he already also knew who Geekdom was. So to me, it's like, how does that happen, you know? So let's go on to Geekdom. Now, I've said this story before, but, you know, Bean from Beanie Bop Nation had a random Skype call with me. And it was with Black and Fist, one. And Black and Fist wanted people who wanted to do topics about who is Goku's father, and Bean was thinking that Geekdom would have been good for that conversation. So he randomly brings Geekdom into the conversation, and we start talking, and turns out Geekdom doesn't live that far from where I live, and we're having a good conversation, and then a couple weeks later, you know, we become closer friends. He's giving me advice about life. A couple months later, I go to his wedding, and the rest is history. And I look at Geekdom and I say to myself, like, Geekdom is literally the equivalent of a non-related older brother to me, because I feel like in life, I always kind of needed like an older figure, not necessarily a parent, but an older figure that I can kind of look up to and talk about some of the decisions in my life. Because, I mean, let's face the truth. I mean, most of my friends are in their early to mid-20s, maybe late teens at the youngest. So I'm not going to listen to what a person like Josh from Beanie Bop Nation is going to tell me. What the hell am I going to listen to this 21-year-old? I'm not going to listen to people around my age. But if you look at people who are a little bit older than you and have been your age more recently in the more recent world, it kind of has an effect on you. And Geekdom has helped me go through a lot of things in life. And it just puzzles me that a random Skype call forced me to meet Geekdom. Now, I do think that Geekdom was eventually going to rise to YouTube prominence eventually, and I think that we probably were going to eventually collab at some point. That Skype call to me, I just feel like accelerated the process a lot faster, but I was already aware of who he was from certain comments he's made on videos, and that kind of really puzzled me. And, you know, another interesting internet story would be Hail Zeon. Now, Hail Zeon, he has probably the most unique story of all of these people, because he was kind of like an anti-Qaaman person in my life, if you want to use that term, because he made this video called Why the Dragon Ball Community Needs to Get Fucked, or something similar to that. I don't remember the exact title, but it was something along that line, so the fandom needs to get fucked. And he said something like, if you guys want to check out these shitty Dragon Ball channels or something like that, go ahead, they're not for me. And as he was saying that, my channel was like scrolling down as he was saying this, so I'm like, this nigga is calling me out. And then Geekdom and I were like, I can't believe this guy's calling us out in this video. So we add him to a Skype call, and the rest is history. And now Zeon's one of my friends. I just recently did a stream with him last week. And it's kind of crazy how a person who actually was kind of critiquing, or at least loosely critiquing your channel in a way, is now one of your friends. And now, as YouTube continues to advance, and I think about people like Dino, you know, who was friends with Thundershot, and I think back to myself that Thundershot, I randomly bumped into his channel because I saw him doing some news videos, and I was like, yeah, let's get together and make videos. And I met Dino, and I met, you know, Kiribug, and I met all these people, and Toasty, and all of these guys, and it's like, all of this happened because of the internet. Like, if I wasn't on the internet as much as I was, and I'm not just counting, you know, being a YouTuber, forget being a YouTuber, just browsing the internet, I wouldn't even know who these people are. How the hell am I gonna know who some person who lives in Australia is? Like Super Jane is the perfect example. It would be physically impossible for me to even be aware of Super Jane's existence, considering where he lives. You know? And the same thing for Dino, considering where he lives, you know? And it just puzzles me how people from across the world could just bump into your life, you know, so easily because of the internet. And one more thing I wanted to add to my life, guys, is ever since I was a kid, you know, apart from all this stuff with the fascination with the internet, I've always loved what ifs. And this goes like far beyond Dragon Ball what ifs. But like, I've always kind of looked at what ifs in my life, positive and negative. You know, I think back to myself. If my cat wasn't hurt, I wouldn't have driven late at night, and I wouldn't have gotten to a car accident which ultimately caused me to be in the position I'm in, which has been much better than it was over the last couple of months. I'm doing much better, but I kind of think if my cat didn't get hurt, I probably wouldn't have been there. And the fact of the matter is, in an essence of what ifs, my cat kind of probably loosely caused me to get into an accident. And at the same time, while I was at the vet place waiting on my cat, I decided to get some McDonald's. So if I didn't want to get McDonald's because I was so tired of waiting, I probably wouldn't have gotten into an accident there. So McDonald's and my cat caused me to lose my car. And it's kind of funny when you think about it in hindsight. It's negative when you think about the grand scheme of it. But in hindsight, it's kind of funny how two little things could add up to that. And for the internet, one thing I've loved is that you guys have allowed me to share my thoughts on a lot of what ifs I've thought about with Dragon Ball, but in general, just life, because I think you can always think about what ifs in life. I've always been that way as a kid. I've always looked at sports scenarios. What if Ray Allen had missed that 3 against the Spurs in 2013? How would LeBron's career have gone? What if we had beaten the Spurs in 2014? Would LeBron have stayed in Miami? What if Dwayne Wade had won the MVP in 2008? Would LeBron and Bosh have still come to Miami with Wade just winning the MVP? Like, I think about all these things. Like, what if Derrick Rose never got hurt? What if the Dolphins were actually good? I think about all of this stuff in life, and I just wanted to thank you guys for allowing me to express my opinions over the internet and for allowing me to meet a lot of the great people like you guys that I've seen on Twitter and stuff, because honestly, when I want to talk about stuff like Daredevil and Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, it's just so fun being able to communicate with people throughout the world that you've never actually met in life. And, you know, it's always a pleasure to meet people like Mike from Laughingstock Media and all of these other guys who, you know, you just have a fun conversation with and you're actually friends beyond just YouTube and stuff. So with everything else said, guys, I think this is my quota of talking for the day. Dragon Ball and the internet in general has changed my life. I'm fascinated by it. And let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think about what ifs a lot in your life? And do you think about the power of how you can meet people over the internet? Because honestly, it's quite fascinating. Have a great day, everyone.